Hi, I'm Mary Valamides, and I'm going to share with you the second grade, 5th 6 weeks mathematics curriculum preview. The big ideas for this 5th 6 weeks is we're going to start off with ACBA on February the 27th. Then we're going to finish our division concepts that we began earlier in the 4th 6 weeks. Do patterns and strategies with even and odd numbers, 10 more, 10 less, 100 more, 100 less. Then we'll have spring break, and when we get back, we'll be talking about customary length and metric length. In first grade, the kids have only learned to use approximate measures with non-standard tools, but you will be using you'll start with non-standard and go to standard tools. Then April the 4th to the 15th is the time span to take the Math Universal Screener, and we'll end the 6 weeks with learning time to the minute. So we're going to finish division. There's only 2 days, and I'm sharing this calendar with you. This is what I use to know approximately how many days we have for each concept. It's based on the pacing guide. Now, I'm not telling you to teach out of the book step by step. What I'm saying is I'm looking at the student expectations. So we have 2 days to teach 2.6b. So 2.6b is to model, create, and describe contextual division situations. And just as you did multiplication with added subtraction, added addition, adding sets multiple times, whether it's 4 sets of 3, or with division, we're going to do repetitive subtraction. So here, dividing 12 by 4 is equal to 3. We're going to separate 12 into groups of 4. So we have 4 groups with 3 in each group. These are some resources that 2.6a will help you review multiplication. 2.6b, of course, will be for the division. Then we'll start Unit 7, Patterns and Strategies. We'll have 7 days for Unit 7, and then we'll have spring break. So Unit 7 is when we bring in algebra. So 2.7a, we're going to determine whether a number up to 40 is even or odd with pairings of objects to represent the number. You can even have students make 2 lines and face each other. And then we can see if a student doesn't have a partner, then there's an odd number of students. If all students have a partner, it's an even number of students. Students can also do this with objects. Also with this module is 2.7b, is use an understanding of place value to determine the number that is 110 or 100 more or less than a given number up to 1,200. You can use the hundreds chart to start with saying 10 more and 10 less, as I've shown on the diagram. You can also use base 10 blocks or even the number line. 2.7c represents solve addition, subtraction word problems, where unknowns may be any one of the terms in the problem. We started with unknowns in first grade, so this might not be a new concept to the students. But notice from the supporting information from TEA, we have an example of a word problem, and here we have 87 is equal to what plus 39. Notice this is the new diagram that we're using, where we have the total on the top with just 2 lines, not a box, and then the parts are under it. Here's some possible number sentences that you can use when you're explaining this to the kids, where you have 43 plus something equals 84. That's the change is unknown. Notice that we have a number, the beginning number that's not used, it's just the beginning number is unknown, and then of course the total unknown. So those are the first 3 types. Activities in Eduphoria are listed on this slide. And then you'll begin with Unit 8. Unit 8 is linear measurement, area, and time. So we'll start first with linear measurement. As I said earlier, first grade only learned to measure with non-standard tools. They used possibly adding machine tape, pencils, paper clips, and those types of things. You'll start with that to make that connection to the prior learning. And then from there, you'll teach them how to use a ruler and learning how to do inches, and then also feet, and then moving on to solving problems with measurement. Now, notice on 16.5, they'll also do problem solving and choosing a tool. So the length, module 16, 2.9a, you can begin with using color tiles or inch words for an inch. And for centimeters, you could use centimeter cubes. Notice that they match exactly the length of the customary unit. So please be sure to use these items. Now, what they did learn in first grade is that there shouldn't be any gaps or spaces or overlaps. So continue that concept with second grade, and then also notice that they're used to measure the same size. Now, here's an example of another thing that the students did learn in first grade is that if an object is smaller, there will be more of them to measure the same amount of distance, where a larger object is used to measure, and that larger object should have fewer items. So continue that same idea, because that leads into centimeters and meters versus meters, or inches versus feet. So 2.9d, determine the length of an object to the nearest marked unit. And these are the 4 things that are listed in your text to use: rulers, yardsticks, meter sticks, or measuring tapes. You should have access to all of these things because they were sent to you last year. So please use these with the kids. Then 2.9e, this is the first text that we have that includes estimating. So you estimate, you bring that concept. It's new to our kids. They've not seen it before. So they're going to be estimating lengths. Also represent whole, and I'm sorry, let me go back. Estimating lengths, you want them to look at an object and guess how many color tiles it would be, or how many inches it will be. And then they measure. That's a good way that they learn to get a good estimate in their mind of objects, the more experience they have in estimating and then actually measuring. 2.9c, represent whole numbers as distances from any given location on a number line. So if you have 20 plus 16, you can see that it's 36. Then 2.9d, determine the length of an object to the nearest marked unit. Using the rulers, yardsticks, meter sticks, and measuring tapes, notice it has to go to the nearest marked unit. So in this case, it goes to 8 and 1/16. Now, be careful with doing that. We'll stick to the nearest 8. We're not going to the nearest fractional part. We're going to the nearest whole unit. Here are some directions on how to teach reading an inch ruler. I've included this only to let you know that there are some misconceptions when the kids actually start measuring. So I just wanted to bring this to the forefront to let you know that here's some things you might want to remember to tell them. And then when in reading a ruler, another misconception is, like, for example, right here on this very first ruler, if they're trying to measure from 1 to 2, they see 2 numbers and sometimes they think it's 2 inches, when in reality it's only 1 inch. It's the intervals that they're counting, not the digits. So for example, from 0 to 2 has 3 numbers. Some of them may say 3. In actuality, there's only 2 intervals. So the actual answer is 2 inches. So just be aware of that. Unit 8, we're going to start measuring in length using centimeters and finding area. So now we're going to be talking about centimeters. So here are some directions on how to measure with a centimeter ruler, a little bit different, but in some things that are the same as earlier with the ruler. And then we'll go into introducing area to the students. The students have never had area up to this point before. So in second grade, you use concrete models of square units to find the area of a rectangle by covering it with no gaps or overlaps, counting to find the total number of square units, and describing the measurement using a number and the unit. In first grade, they were using the number and the unit, such as 8 crayons. So now we'll do the same with using color tiles. So notice we're going to cover this green rectangle with color tiles. There isn't any space between each tile and no gaps. So how will we do this? And here are some directions that you can share with the kids. They're going to first put the first tile on the edge. The second tile, we'll make sure we have no gaps in between, and it'll fit completely edge to edge. And then continue adding the rest until the space is covered. And then we can count the 4 tiles and say that there's 4 square centimeters. Yes, they're square shaped, so we have to say that they are square centimeters. And squared is also always used with area. So a resource for this is 2.9F in Eduphoria is Grab Bag. And then the last thing you're going to be teaching for this 6 weeks is time. And you'll have 5 days to teach this. The kids have learned to approximate in first grade time to the nearest hour and half hour. You're going to have kids reading and writing time to the nearest 1 minute increment using an analog clock and a digital clock. And notice they also have to distinguish between AM and PM. So all these are new concepts to your kids. So remember to tell them the shorthand has the power because it tells the hour. That's what they learned in first grade as well. So make sure the kids realize it, because sometimes they have a misconception as to which hand tells the hour and which hand tells the minute. So here are some directions on how to read a clock. I know you know how to, but it may be some little things that the kids might need to know. AM and PM is a new concept to our little kids, and so AM, of course, is from 12 midnight to 11:59 in the late morning or early afternoon. So have the kids either have pictures showing them midnight versus morning, and having them understand AM and PM. Here are some vocabulary terms that you will be going over with the kids. Notice in the first review column, these are terms that the kids either heard in first grade or you may have talked about earlier in the year. And then notice in the new column, we have a lot of new terms that they have not seen before. Here are 4 word wall activities you can use with your kids, or any of the activities you've heard of before, making sure that the kids really know those academic vocabulary. Thank you so much for listening to this curriculum preview. Have a wonderful 6 weeks, and please contact me if you have any questions. Thank you.